Okay.
Hello, guys. You
Hello.
right? You like tigers? We got tigers. We got all the tigers you need in Tiger King.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Doc. I'm Ian, your host, and I'm joined by Matt again. Hello.
Hello, listeners.
Today we're going to be talking about episode 2 of Tiger King. It's a crazy one. Let's begin first before we go into it. There's some corrections for the last episode. In the last episode we discussed like if you could just release a tiger or a lion or something like that back into the wild, and according to bigcatrescue.org, like Carol's website, there's like an FAQ, and it basically answers this question for us, and the answer is no, you can't unless it was born in that country.
That's it. Which I guess kind of does make sense, like, the more you kind of think about it, like...
Yeah, and also it says that tiger cubs should be with their mum up until like week 4, but like a lot of Joe's ones and a lot of the rest of them and stuff, they snatch them straight from the mum. It's like literally like 8 days old or something, and they're like out being petted. I
think there's a point in this episode even. Like I don't think there's a point we'll go into loads, but where Joe brings like a set of cubs out to a bunch of people and is like, yeah, they were born an hour ago. So that kind of shows you the difference. But kind of between Carol and Joe in terms of their thoughts on tiger cubs.
Yeah, it's a bit sketchy, but yeah, that's one of the main things we need to talk about. Let's go into the episode. So the episode opens with someone having their arm ripped off. What?
It's a pretty insane opening. Like, to go from episode 1 where you're kind of like awestruck by everything in it as it is, and then the opening to this episode is just, yeah, you're literally like, okay, like shit's getting real now.
Yeah, so we've seen Saf in the first episode. They were just like being interviewed the whole. The thing is, I didn't realize until I had to flick back through the first episode. I noticed that Saf was missing the arm in the first episode, which like
it's crazy how like I was the same, like did not realize or notice at first.
No, I didn't, and I even thought that they were showing Saf from like, like in a way that you wouldn't be able to notice, but nope, it's kind of exactly the same as the first episode. But I didn't even pay attention to that.
I guess that's kind of a good thing, though.
Yeah. Saf was like just laying there on the ground. Joe's ringing an ambulance, and he's like looking stressed. He's like going around talking to all the staff, and he's
ripped Sam's arm clean off. Saf's arm clean off.
I thought was it the skin or that?
Well, I don't know, because I'm sure at that beginning bit they like it, maybe even on the police call. Let's say maybe that's just panic. Perhaps that's just panic from which you can totally understand under the circumstances.
Yeah, because Joe walks into the gift shop and tells people the news. It's crazy because it cuts to Joe being all serious, like, oh, just before you hear on the news, guys. I'm not gonna do the voice.
Go on, Ian.
He's like, before you hear on the news, one of my trainers had their arm rip clear off.
Basically asking them if they'd like a rain check on their day,
or a refund. But it cuts to people in the gift shop, and they all just look like kind of like, whoa, what's going on here? They're kind of like deer in like headlights, because they're just being filmed and stuff. They're probably like, how to react. They look kind of like, if anything, like no reaction. They're just kind of like, I'm just here to buy my Tiger King pants.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose it could be shock. Like, if you were in that, if you were at a zoo and the owner, you're in the gift shop at a zoo, and the owner comes in and comes out with that. Like, how do you react to that? How do you react to that?
Would you? I mean, because if you was in the gift shop, you should be at the end of the day. It should be at the end of the tour. Would you? Well, you'd get a refund, or would you get a rain check? What would you do?
I really don't know. I mean, obviously, I don't know. I guess a rain check. Like, if I was really into that zoo, then hey, free day out.
I already got a refund, and then I would spend it on some Tiger King underwear.
not the sex gel then.
Not the sex gel. I don't know, because I could be standing there. Just, what do I want? Leopard print? Do I want do I want tiger print underwear?
I guarantee they're all modelled by Joe as well.
Oh no, it's ridiculous. But then then he turns to the camera and he says, "I'm never gonna financially recover from this."
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, does he mean that it's going to be bad press overall? Is it going to be like him trying to have him to pay out to Saf because of the injury at work? Like a lawsuit?
I think it's the bad press. I think if I could be completely wrong, but I think that is kind of at the forefront of Joe's mind. Because it already comes across that he and his group are kind of looked down upon. So all it takes is something like this to really, really create some media buzz and not the kind of press and exposure that you would want in owning a place like that. Yeah.
I don't know, but any press is somewhat good press because his zoo is shown on TV like nationwide, and then again, obviously people are like, oh, I don't like a tiger to attack me, but then
yeah, I mean, like, are you really are you going to want to go to a zoo that would you be willing to go to a zoo tomorrow that you saw a massive news story about today that a tiger had just ripped someone's arm off? Like, it's not exactly.
Yeah, I would.
Well, maybe
it's not going to happen
you would.
again, is it?
Well, how do you know that?
Because
how do you know? Like, would you want to take your children there?
And it was a
if you had children,
a member of staff.
But you've got to understand as well with the media, like the media can paint things in a certain light. Like sometimes a headline in itself, like they might leave out that it's a member of staff. All they have to put is person gets their arm ripped off by tiger in Joe Exotic's zoo. Yeah. That's you know how the media can work at times.
Yeah, they're petitioning to close the zoo down and all that kind of stuff.
You can see it being a big problem, definitely.
But we jump forward to after, I guess, the intro, and Saf's there talking about that Saf was like laying in the hospital, and they basically kind of come over and was it John Rinke? I think it's John Rinke. He come over and he like offers Saf a pen, and they write their name and all that. And
basically to see, like if Saf can still use, I guess the muscles, nerves, and whatnot in the hand, like that's what I would guess is the point of that. But they talk how the doctor says it will take, is it 2 years of reconstructive surgery?
Yeah, 2 years
to fix the hand. So it's, I guess, semi, if anything, kind of as a normal hand would work and function.
I mean, I guess it functions already, but it's just maybe it looks, there's no skin, so it'd be maybe grafts from the leg, or I'm not too sure. Maybe it's, I don't know if skin was the problem or if it was like just disfigured or.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I would think, though, 2 years of reconstructive surgery, that means more than just skin. I would think there's nerve damage there.
Oh, yeah,
Like,
maybe. Or the doctor said, we can amputate it. And Saf was like, cut it off.
that's it, literally. Like, don't even have to think about it. Take it away.
That was so badass.
Yeah. Like, Saf is incredible. Like, just... I'm blown away by how Saf like just has this kind of extremely positive outlook. Like it's quite inspiring.
Yeah, and the whole gist of it is because Saf didn't want to give the zoo a bad name. They didn't want to like have a reason to have the animals put down because of that. And like Saf returned to work in just 5 days after the attack. Oh no, 5 days after coming out of hospital, not 5 days after the attack. Because Saf was in hospital for a week, getting the arm chopped off.
I mean that's incredible. Like, could you imagine that? Like for something that like that to happen, like you can imagine how traumatic that would be in itself.
It's a life-changing event, isn't it?
It completely like to lose your hand, and then to want to step back into that arena of these animals that could quite easily do that again. Like, that takes a hell of a lot of guts, and it kind of speaks to Saf's character and passion for the job.
Yeah, it was pretty incredible. And I was surprised by that.
I will say, on my first watch, I did wonder, because obviously you're trying to work out whether, like, Joe has, like, it appears that Joe's staff, like, a lot of them, like, the job is kind of a lifeline for them. And when I first heard that Saf had gone back so soon and didn't want to create this bad press on the place, I wondered at first if maybe Joe had tried to push that on them. Like, obviously it doesn't state that at all, but it was a thought that went through my mind. But then the more I see of Saf, I think Saf is a kind of free thinker. So maybe not that Joe had kind of forced that. But it did cross my mind. That's what I'm saying. It did cross my mind.
Yeah, and I don't know. I thought maybe it could be possibly because of the American healthcare system, because just getting that ambulance to the hospital, that would have cost a couple of grand. Then
yeah, I mean, does it state whether Saf or any of Joe's employees are insured? I don't think it states that at all, does it? So, especially if Saf isn't insured, the money that would cost, even I guess for the amputation, like, extortionate.
Yeah, I can't imagine how much that cost. So no wonder Saf was back at work like within 5 days after that. Not just because Saf's a complete trooper when it comes to it, but it's just, I don't know. Healthcare is one thing I'm glad in this country we don't have to worry about so much.
Thank God for the NHS.
Yeah. Well, we'll clap later on.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was the crazy opening in the episode. But then it moves on to John. Thing is it John Rinky or is it John Ricky?
I'm not sure on the pronunciation. Yeah, as soon as I saw the name and wrote it down in my notes, I was like, I'm going to struggle with that surname. So obviously, if we are butchering it, apologies.
I think it's Rinky, John Rinky. Because, side note, I've been told by a few of my friends to watch the Louis Theroux America's Most Dangerous Animals documentary.
Hmm.
And it features Joe Exotic, and it's like him from like 2011. So I think it's like way before this documentary.
See,
I think even
I need to watch that. I'd be really, really interested in watching that.
it's about 4 or 5 years before this documentary, like the
Hmm.
earliest footage in this documentary. And Joe looks, yeah, obviously younger, like thinner, and he's not walking around with a cast in his leg anymore, like a you know, he hasn't got the crutch anymore.
Hmm.
Um, and obviously Louis Theroux is just the best, absolute
Yeah,
best.
Louis is incredible.
Like, yep, he's probably the reason why I'm so into documentaries overall. I used to watch Weird Weekends as a kid, like
Same.
constantly.
So
Just
I've got the
obsessed.
box set and everything.
Oh, it's the best. Well, we definitely have to do some like Louis Theroux at some point.
Yeah.
But this is the thing. So in that documentary, I mean, I'm not going to go into it too much, but it has John Rinky in that documentary, and he introduced himself, and I put the subtitles on the thing, and it says John Ricky, like and I think he even had like his caption name as John Ricky. So it's confusing as hell, because I thought, oh, finally worked out how to pronounce his name, and no, it's. But what's interesting is in this documentary, it mentions that he lost his legs in a zip line accident.
Yep.
Fell 50 feet and like landed on his feet, and just basically lost them from kind of just overuse of them after that, because they were like, he was like semi-paralyzed, wasn't he, from the shin down, I think.
Yeah, it sounds painful as hell. Well, it sounds awful.
Well, I don't know if I don't think he could feel the legs, so you're just kind of just walking on, like if you were sat down cross-legged and you try to get up and you just walk on them, and you kind of like walking on your ankles. That's what, as far as I can tell, it feel like. I mean, I'm just imagining what that could be like.
No, I'm thinking the accident sounds.
Oh yeah.
Like it's just ouch. Like doesn't even bear to think about. Like, whoa, sends shivers up my spine.
Oh yeah, that would have been like some. Obviously, it did do some serious damage. Like, you can see that, but it's it's.
So hang on, does it state different then in the Louis documentary?
Yeah,
about his legs.
It says that he was testing out a friend's like, was it fairground ride?
Right.
He said that he had an accident on a fair, like testing out a fairground ride, and he was the last to go, and it just like misfunctioned, like
how strange,
malfunctioned. Sorry.
Like, I was thinking you were going to say he got mauled by a tiger or just got absolutely brutally, That's I thought you was going to say that, like, and maybe they just changed it for this documentary for some reason.
It still fits in because it's a zip line. Like, I can imagine a zip line being at a fair or like fairground thing. But yeah, I love that he's got like was it spray painted like legs and stuff, and they're like custom.
They look incredible.
Yeah, they look awesome, and I love how people there probably thinks, yeah, he definitely lost his legs through this.
That's what I mean. Like, if you went to a zoo and you saw like a handler of these animals and both their legs were missing, you like, was it? Yeah, like your mind would just run away with itself.
Well, yeah, you see him just kind of sorting out the cages and stuff, and then you turn around and you see Saf missing an arm. Like, you're gonna think, is this place safe?
Yes.
It's it's, I don't know.
More power to them, though. More power to them.
Exactly. I mean, they're passionate about what they do, and so then we move on to Doc Antle.
He's back again.
He's back again. He's riding that elephant again.
He looks so happy on there.
I mean, I don't blame him. I think that'd be kind of cool. You kind of
it would be incredible. Whether it's right to do or not, I don't know. Well, of course, it's probably not right. It's kind of not natural to ride
I'm not even sure.
elephants.
I don't know, like, because a massive elephant would even like kind of feel that heavy having someone on the back of you. I
Oh
mean,
yeah, I'm sure. No, they're powerful, strong animals. Like it probably does nothing, but still, it's kind of like you can ask the elephant.
Might have to. I'll ask my mate Doolittle, find out what's going on. Yeah, so he's riding along on the elephant, and he's going into the water, and it's
happy as Larry.
Yeah,
he is absolutely beaming.
But I noticed in like the second watch, there's like a little dog that's on top of the elephant.
Oh, really?
Yeah, on in the water, it's like him, like, you know, wetting down I don't know, washing the elephant, and then like there's like a little dog with like a ball or something in its mouth, just like on the elephant's like back.
Okay, this is sounding more and more like a crazy circus show.
I was like, secret dog. There's a secret dog. Secret doggo. Anyway, so we get to see more of his being a director to the director again.
Yeah, so would you like me on the couch or like the documentary
you want to see him walk
maker
around? You want to
has got to be again? Like, Doc, what? Man, like, Doc, please, like, let me do my job.
I don't know, it's just everything he says is kind of just.
He's a character.
He is a character.
He's a character. But... As much as Joe, like, I mean, Joe jumps off the page. Like, he is completely in your face out there. And Doc is similar, just I think I said before, just in a slightly more subtle way.
I just feel like he's always defending himself. He always sounds like he's defending himself, like constantly. So one of his quotes in this bit is like, "Nothing is cooler, sexier, or more significant in the world we live in today than a tiger." And then he goes on to say, "Everybody loves them, and anybody who says that they don't is insecure and broken." What do you think about that? Would you say you love tigers, Matt? Or
I mean, I have no direct affinity to the tiger myself. Like, I love all animals. Like, I think animals are amazing. I'm glad we share the earth with them. But yeah, I don't have a list and like, yeah, well, tigers. You know, if I didn't like them, I'd be a broken man. I imagine for Dokkan or Bhagavan, I imagine he has had, like many of these big cat owners, he's had to defend himself a lot from the likes of animal rights groups and like the Carol Baskins of the world. So I imagine it becomes this kind of natural defense system for him where he sees anyone who doesn't like what he does as the bad guy. Yeah, similar again to Joe.
Because I know later we're going to go into it later in the episode, but he does defend himself, and he just feels like he's always on. I don't know how long this was shot over, like what period of time. I imagine for him, he was quite busy, and he put like all of his stuff in this whole documentary is probably only shot in like a weekend. I bet that's what it is. It's
more than
him.
More than likely. Like he seems one of them characters that is like, okay, I've got a maybe a 4-hour slot on Saturday where I can fit you in, and perhaps that's why he's so directorial, because it's like, okay, we need to get this done. I'm a busy man. Okay, so we move to Carol next, and she's explaining that Joe actually breeds a lot of his cubs in order to sell them on to other parks, zoos, quite a lot. How many was it? Was it 28?
Yeah, 28 places.
28 places, and these include Bhagavan, because as we know, Bhagavan also does cub petting. He believes in that. well, in order to make money. And other places, you get introduced to a guy called Tim Stark, also, who is being sold these cubs.
He just seems like a crazy guy on his porch. That's what he feels like.
Yeah, it's I mean, we don't really get see a lot of Tim Stark there, but yeah, but it just goes to show that like, well, I guess Bhagavan, Doc Antle, who, you know, we've seen a lot of already, that he does have a connection to Joe. They have a connection through the selling of cubs, which obviously makes Joe and his place quite a lot of money, which is probably a big part of the income.
Yeah, and it said that John, like Joe's husband, drove the animals across the country. So he would like deliver them to like these different places, like as you said, like the 28 different places. One thing I need to note though is if you want to see more of Tim Stark, watch the Louis Theroux documentary, because
he's in
He's in it. Yeah, he features in it as like one of the main people Louis goes to.
You know, I'm sure I have seen the documentary in the past of the exotic animals, Louis Theroux, but it's obviously so long ago that and obviously I didn't know these characters at the time, so it's going to be so interesting to watch that.
Yeah, because Joe is absolutely nothing like how he is in this documentary. Like he's very together in that sense. Like he's kind of very like sensible, and he's kind of he seems like kind of just more about, he's wearing like uniform for the park, like he looks like a ranger or something.
Wow.
And it's completely different. It's like night and day different.
So something obviously changed in Joe's life since then.
Yeah, maybe, or just because it's a different kind of documentary. I mean, like if the BBC said they were gonna like do a documentary on you, you'd be like, oh, better whip out the ranger uniform.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah, because they're like a respectable. I mean,
but I wonder if like Joe at that time possibly wasn't doing his internet TV show, and perhaps once that began was when, you know, the kind of addiction to the fame aspect of it came about, and maybe that's when his clothing became more eccentric, and you know, possibly that garnered more viewers because they were like, oh, look at this crazy guy.
Yeah, it does. It seems completely different. Like a lot of things are different. Well, maybe we'll do like some kind of recap at the end of after all these episodes and stuff, and maybe just do like a bonus episode on this one, like just kind of like comparison, almost a comparison piece.
Definitely.
Because I see that Louis Theroux tweeted on Twitter recently saying he's just watched the Tiger King documentary himself, and he wants to do like he's going to reveal his thoughts in the next couple of days.
Yeah.
So we'll maybe wait for that to happen and then incorporate into maybe the next podcast. Maybe at the beginning.
Definitely.
Or just at the end, as a recap. Yeah, so they mentioned about the Endangered Species Act, and it says basically it forbids anybody from selling a tiger. You can't buy, sell, trade, or barter anything endangered. But then it says that zoos without cubs will still buy them because, you know, you'd be crazy not to.
Yeah, and they're talking about just everyday zoos as well. They're not just talking about, I don't think anyway, that they're just talking about these, you know, like the likes of Joe and Bhagavan.
And Tim.
And Tim. But perhaps even, you know, I guess like London Zoo. I'm not putting it out there that they do that by any means. But
I can't imagine them buying it from there. Surely have like someone who's already, you know, they must have some kind of way of doing it other than like some guy out of the back of his boot.
Yeah, but they said on there the zoos purchase the cubs if the tigers aren't breeding.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know if that's a case of, you know, in their surroundings, perhaps, you know, like with pandas.
Yeah.
You know, like there's a real struggle with birthing new pandas in enclosures. Like it's kind of a big thing, isn't it? So
it just doesn't really happen, does it? So one thing that Joe says in this segment though is they were like, "Oh, how much would a baby tiger set you back?" And he's like $2,000. Mm-hmm. I'm like, what? That's crazy. Like
it's kind of like when you think about it, really, it's not a lot of money, really, in the grand scheme of things.
No, it's not. Like and there must be like so many people who go to the zoo to see, you know, mama tiger has just had some cubs, and they're like, I really fancy a little baby tiger. I don't know, and then I don't know. I feel like we're going too much into what we've talked about in the first one, so we'll move on from this now, I think, and we go on to Mario.
It's a me.
Yeah, it's him. Yeah, I wouldn't. Sorry. Yeah, definitely wouldn't say it to his face. I think he would know.
No way. Not a chance. I would be like, yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
So we move on to Mario Tebro. Is it Tebro? Yeah, that's how you pronounce it, because I've written it how it's meant to be pronounced
Phonetically, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, but in my own weird way.
Basically, the Tony Montana of the animal world, as it comes across.
Just crazy. He got sentenced to 100 years in jail and then got off.
Served, what was it, 12 years?
Yeah, 12 years.
That's a pretty steep, a downward climb. 100 years down to 12, that gets you thinking if maybe money played a part in that.
I don't know. I mean,
he's obviously a very, very rich man. As you find out, his past revolves around the drug trade.
Yeah,
and basically, when I say the Tony Montana of the animal world, he was. A lot of people think he was the inspiration for the movie Scarface, the Al Pacino version. Obviously, there was an original Scarface movies. I think perhaps in the 60s, maybe something like that. I could be wrong. But I can see it. I can totally see it. I love the film Scarface. I'm a big fan of that film. And I can see it.
I can see it, obviously, him older and stuff, but in the earlier days, I thought he looked like was it Charles Manson or something? Or
a little bit, I suppose.
Kind of a little bit like Trevor from GTA.
But I don't think so much it's in terms of look. I think it's in what he done, in terms of the drug business he was involved in.
It's just insane. So he says that he was never really allowed to have pets when he was younger and stuff. So because his mum was really against pets, and then when he gets out of the house, the first thing he does is get 3 giant Great Danes.
Yeah.
And
almost I'm free to do what I want now.
Yeah, but then he goes on to buy loads of other animals.
Mm-hmm.
And and he has a massive private collection, which even it kind of warrants him opening a zoo overall.
I mean, have you seen the film Scarface?
Yeah, not for years.
Oh, right. Well, you know in that Tony Montana owns a tiger, right?
I haven't seen it for years.
Oh, right.
It kind of makes.
But it kind of adds up again. He has a tiger in his mansion, or on the grounds of his mansion, in the gardens, and again it's that this kind of massive drug kingpin. And I guess again it's a statement. It's a statement, and it's a protective aspect of his what would you call it? His estate, his I can't think of the word. The word's not coming to me.
Okay.
But it's another piece that just goes hand in hand with the description of him being the Tony Montana of the animal world.
I need to watch it again. I haven't seen it. It must have been 10 years since I watched
it. It's a great film. Great film. I mean, Al Pacino, fantastic actor.
Yeah, I'll give it a watch again, maybe this weekend. But if I can fit it in amongst all these episodes that we have to do. One of his keepers says that they used to stuff drugs, cocaine into snakes, and there's a newspaper clipping that comes up where it said 223 snakes found stuffed with drugs, which is insane. Just
absolutely insane.
It's and you see like you see a
and,
snake, don't you? Like a snake that's been cut open.
Insane and kind of like that's like really horrible. Like
it's horrific.
Like basically, it comes across that for at the start you get the impression, and I don't think it's not true that he has an absolute affinity for these animals, these exotic pets, so to speak. But then you kind of get the impression that he's used them in a different way to kind of push forward this drug cartel of sorts.
He did say that he sold drugs to maintain his animal habit, which is a great line there. But then it goes into the reason why he got 100 years in jail was because someone who worked for him shot it was basically like an informant, like a drug informant, and then they dumped the body of the informant on his farm, and then one of his crazy partners says, "Hey, we should just cut him up and burn him."
Yeah.
and
which again, like they kind of in the documentary, they kind of mirror in the to the Scarface movie of a point where Tony Montana takes I think it's like a jigsaw,
circular saw.
Yeah, to a guy like chained up to in a bathtub to the rail of the curtain for the shower. So I think they kind of mirror it to that. So again, another kind of aspect of perhaps where they got this idea in the movie.
Yeah. To be honest, I did wonder why he said like I did not take a circular saw to his neck and stuff like that. So maybe he was quoting. So I completely missed all these references because I haven't seen Scarface in like a decade, and I don't know. Oh yeah, spoiler alert, by the way.
I mean, if you haven't seen Scarface, like it's an incredible film.
Yeah. Then after that, we meet his wife, Maria, who she's obsessed with primates. Has like little like chimps that she dresses up in baby clothing.
Doesn't she say at one point that she may actually love them more than her own children?
Yeah, she does. And they said that they have like between 7 to 8 like primates in their house at any time. So like, and that's like in their bedroom. And we also find out from around Maria, because they have like a book of like Doc Antle, and we see like shots of his like animals and stuff, and we find out that he's a doctor, and they was like, oh, like an actual doctor of mystical science. That's what he's a doctor of.
How do I get that degree?
I think you just print it out, don't
you? Yeah,
That's...
exactly. I get that free off the internet, can't I?
I think. Yeah, he's a doctor of mystical science. So, like, when we talk about, oh, he's a doctor in the first episode, it was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure he said that he was a doctor, and I thought he might be like a veterinarian or something like that, but nope, mystical science.
Kind of makes sense when you really think about it. When you look at his character,
But like that degree, like that doctorate has gone somewhere. It's got him like super rich overall. And we also find out that he's got 3 wives, or 3 to 4 wives, and it's insane. And then it goes on. Then we go into Doc Antle again, and he talks about his apprentices, and I don't know. I guess it's kind of. They start off as apprentice and then end up as his wife, I guess.
Yeah, like it's kind of again like quite sketchy. Like he brings them in as teenagers, and it's. I mean, again, I don't want to. You know, I'm not stating this as fact because I'm just going off of my perception from the documentary, but it almost feels kind of like a grooming act, which kind of feels quite wrong.
Yeah, because when they come in, like Barbara, who we'll talk about in a minute or two, she was 17 when she come into it. I think it was 17, and yeah, like they like. You notice that, like, I don't think there's any male apprentices. There's only just female apprentices.
Oh, of course,
that we've seen.
Bhagavan's the male in that situation.
Yeah,
he is king. Like, in his mind, he is king, and I think they call it his harem, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was I can't remember the actual name for it. I've got it written down. Oh yeah, is it Shaktipa? Like he's like a guru. He'd be a guru, and that's like a way of like enlightening them and stuff like that. And we're jumping ahead of ourselves too much, but basically, like we go back to that in a minute. His wife's China, Moksha, and Rajni. That's not their real names whatsoever. They for some reason they call themselves something else like that.
It's like Bhagavan, isn't it?
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not even sure what his real name is. I think on IMDb it says like in school they used to call him Kevin as a way of pronouncing his name, but I can't remember what his real name was. I think it was like really hard to pronounce. But yeah, so he's been interviewed at this time, like by the director, and every time the director's trying to push us, like find out some more about him, he like basically yells and says, "You can't get into my complex lifestyle. It's not for prime time."
Yeah, he again. It comes across very much of a control freak. Like,
he's so on the edge. He doesn't, because he knows this is gonna like.
He doesn't want to be outed. It's like he's a very, very smart man. A very smart man. Like he wants to be in control of the narrative. But as we see within this documentary, he possibly, whilst filming it, he possibly thinks that, okay, this is going to be my narrative that's pushed forward here. But obviously, the documentary kind of shows you a little more than perhaps he'd be happy with the viewers seeing.
I mean, it's hard not to, because he does refer to my partner wife, my partner, this and that, and like my girlfriend and all that kind of stuff. He refers to them like he's like, oh, there's that house, that house, that house. I guess that's all his like land. That must be like just this massive complex, like with all these houses built on them.
Yeah.
It wasn't just like a regular street or anything, was it? He was driving around in the golf cart, wasn't he? But one thing I did notice, right? His name of his place is called Tigers.
All right.
And you see tigers with like dots between it and stuff. You think, oh, what's Tiger stand for? And I had to pause it to find out what it said. But Tigers stands for the Institute of Greatly Endangered and Rare Species.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So,
Good find.
Yeah, I had to pause it because it's like on the website bit where it's like Barbara's like looking at to go to this place, Tigers.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's interesting. It's like obviously he's blatantly just kind of taken the word tigers and just try to make it sound like it's mean something.
Yeah.
I mean, it does.
Again, like it just fits his character completely. Trying to make more of something than what it is. Trying to what's the word? Trying to just amp it up into something that it's possibly not, like a kind of smoke screen,
So yeah, after that we move on to Barbara, and she was a apprentice there from 1999 to 2008, and I don't know, she's basically just everything that Doc's saying. He says something. He says like it's a magical place where everything is neutral and happy and going well. And then it kind of cuts to her saying, "Yeah, we basically lived in horse stalls full of cockroaches." And she said that like, she like he said to her that, you know, sleep with me and like you'll get to the top. And it it seems like, you know, I don't know if all the people in the document, all his wives currently did that, because I imagine they did, because
I mean, I think it kind of speaks for itself. I don't think it takes much to read between the lines there, really.
yeah, she says that all because it has like shots of him in the back of like a limousine or something like that, and it has like what, about 8 or 9 girls just sitting on him more or less, like all around him, and I guess that might have been his staff at the time. That could have been like a Christmas do. I don't know. And yeah, so Barbara says that they were like, oh yeah, you need to have his like shock tipper with his penis, which was like because he was making out he was a guru, and they were like, oh, way of being enlightened was like, you know, sleeping with him, and so it kind of like elevates you beyond, you know, whatnot and stuff.
It kind of speaks again to that kind of cult mentality of some of these groups. Again, like the name of this episode is Cult of Personality, so again, like when I first saw that that title for the episode, like I was like, oh well, that kind of just refers to Joe, because like if you think of his group as like this cult, and they are all like, everyone in Joe's group like has this kind of out there personality of like, you kind of want to know more about all of them. They're all very, very interesting characters. But again, like I think it kind of spreads over to Bhagavan as well.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's for him. Yeah, that's what I'm surprised, because he's the only one out of both of them that we know that is properly charging money. Because like we found out how much it costs to go to his place.
Mm-hmm.
And he has these like shows and stuff put on, but he feels like he's got so much to hide. There's definitely like a lot more I feel like it's gonna be revealed about him.
Yeah, like it feels like there's a lot of skeletons in his closet, and I don't know whether we'll find out all of them or not. Like, he seems a very like he's very much so in control again of the narrative. So maybe parts of it will seep through as the documentary goes on. But I imagine he kind of holds his cards pretty close to his chest when it comes to, you know, maybe that's more of the worst aspects of what he does.
It does reveal like a bit further on in the episode. It says he basically just says to the documentary filmmaker that you're trying to lead me down a path where you're going to say that you have to join a fucking cult to work here.
Mm-hmm.
And it shows you it interviews like one of his wives, Moksha, and she reveals that she works from, was it like from 8 a.m. to midnight each day, and they found that they get paid $100 a week.
That's just crazy, isn't it? Like that kind of, again, like Bhagavan has some power over these people, like, because I couldn't survive on that. Could you?
No, not at all. I mean, like, unless crazy. It was kind of like, if it's like room and board, maybe. I mean, if you just put it aside, like,
yeah, you know, I imagine it probably is in that kind of setup. So yeah, I can understand that. But again, that's like, it sounds like they were worked to the bone.
Yeah, I mean, the fact
not,
that
not in the greatest what's the word? Not it wasn't a perhaps cleanly, safe atmosphere for them to be in. So again, it's this kind of like the thing I get most from Doc is control. Like, there's a lot of control going on there.
Yeah, because Barbara says that he liked to control how they looked, and like he would choose the outfits they wear, and they're kind of wearing like kind of kind of skimpy outfits, and also he makes like Barbara get like a implants,
like a
which
boob
is
job.
yeah, like it's just crazy that.
Doesn't she say like as well that like she doesn't even remember agreeing to it? Like it was kind of it comes across again that it was maybe forced upon her.
Yeah, because they're working like what 15 hours like days and stuff, and like she's just anything for like a couple of days off just to chill out and stuff. Like
Yeah.
it must be just tough. I mean, the fact that Doc is only paying them $100 a week, but then later in the episode you find out Joe pays them $150 a week. I mean, it's only $50 more, like overall, but I mean,
but you get the feeling that with Joe's group, like that kind of money to some of these people is possibly quite a large sum of money, because of where they've come from. And again, with Joe's group, like the more I've kind of like watched this, in terms of like, you know, making notes and things, it kind of comes to the forefront that Joe's group, like, they feel like they've been saved from a life of peril. Whereas that doesn't seem to be the case with Bhagavan's group.
Yeah, his group does come across like happy to work there. They enjoy it. It seemed like they mostly enjoy working there.
Yeah.
Like Joe's group, I mean, sorry. I guess you don't really kind of get that much on Bhagavan's group. Like it's just only the one person who ran away, and like his like one of his current wives who was knackered. So like I mean, really tired overall. But then we move on to find out towards the end of the segment that we found out that Joe has two husbands. Joe ends up meeting a guy called Travis.
Yeah.
And they end up getting, I don't know, it's like a freeway
marriage.
Yeah, freeway marriage. I don't know. Did you feel like John in this one, like he kind of felt like he had some regret overall, like by agreeing to have Travis in the relationship?
It kind of feels, or it comes across, like he doesn't specifically say it, but like you kind of read between the lines, and it almost feels, or it comes across that he feels like he's kind of being traded in for a younger model.
Yeah, because it's weird. He does feel like he kind of looks a bit hurt overall. I mean, this is obviously years after they got married and stuff, but he kind of feels like he didn't. I just said like he didn't realize at the time like what he was agreeing to. Because
I must just quickly say, because I did have this thought, and it's a silly thought, but when we were saying before about like casting a movie of this, I can see John being played by a massively trimmed down Dave Bautista.
I can see that
professional wrestler and Guardians of the Galaxy actor. Like there's definitely a kind of similarity there. Obviously not the teeth.
Yeah, if he had hair, like more hair and stuff.
And just to like some of the facial features. But
yeah, I can see that. Yeah, I can definitely see that. And we see like another music video from Joe, which is "You Were My First," like I don't know, I think it's were my first love," and he's like just singing to John.
Yeah, and do you think that is like almost like a way of Joe trying to make John feel better about the situation? Like you were the first, so you still matter to me.
Yeah, maybe.
Like that's kind of how it come across to me.
I just love that he's got so many music videos that are kind of very fitting for like this story. Like it fits in perfectly with this documentary. So the documentary filmmaker for this must have had like a hell of a time squeezing these like music videos in each time. Do you notice John's tattoos as well? The
property of Joe Exotic, above his
above his crotch and stuff. His dick. Yeah, it says privately owns Joe Exotic underneath. But I don't know. It's weird because I guess Joe's kind of he wants to have like a kind of a poly relationship where it's like multiple people and stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, I guess John was probably just content with being just them and stuff, you know. But and the fact,
like, there's a scene like with I think Joe and Travis. Like, I think they're just sat on a couch. Travis is like petting a baby white tiger cub, I think. But it's like mouth wide open, and he looks like he is spaced out of this world. Like, there is no doubt in my mind that man is on something. Like,
I actually wrote, I did write that down as well because I was like, yeah, that's like so. It's so bizarre. His mouth is like open, massive. Like he's like.
It's
like laughing
it's
at the funniest thing on the TV.
Yeah, like, but it's like he is completely off his head on something, or that's what it comes across to me.
Yeah, and the fact that like Travis was like he classed himself as straight before that, and then like Joe basically said to him, "When you watch porn, do you like it when someone with a small dick or with a large dick, like, you know, fucks a woman?" And he's like, "Oh, I like the guy with the large dicks and stuff like that." And
it's like, you're obviously not that straight, are you?
I thought that was like such a kind of great kind of like litmus test overall. Like, yeah.
That did make me giggle. That did make me giggle. Like, kind of, it's just, that's just Joe, isn't it? Like,
yeah,
it's completely a Joe thing to say.
But yeah, I was surprised. I mean, that he has like 2 husbands, and like everybody seems to have multiple partners in this.
I mean,
and then
well, I don't know about Carol, but I guess that could come through in future episodes.
Yeah, well, we haven't got to that bit yet. We'll go. Well, I mean, we'll find out more towards the end, I guess, of this episode. We do move into Carol next, though, and we see Carol and her army of volunteers with all the colors of the rainbow for shirts and stuff. And
like the shirts, they're aren't they for like a color represents how many years you've been there?
Yeah, like in different levels, because I mean, it's kind of crazy because it's like a massive system where it's like, oh, if you're there for like 6 months, you get a red shirt, and then you like if you pass this test, you get a yellow shirt. It's like kind of like karate belts in shirt form kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's like a grading, isn't it? Like in martial arts, you have a grading, you pass the grading, and you get a different color belt to kind of move on up to that next level.
Yeah, and she was saying that was it. Master Keeper was like kind of the final thing, and I was thinking, are these actual qualifications, or is it just like, oh, I've got like a different shirt today or something? Or, it's the. I mean, if they got some kind of qualification out of it, that'd be kind of cool.
As well, like, she seems quite friendly. Like, you see parts where she's walking around the park, and kind of like seeing some of these volunteers as she goes by, and she seems to have a kind of friendly, you know, back and forth with them, which is quite nice to see. But then at another point, she says that she barely knows the names of these people, and unless they've been there up to, say, 5 years, because then she's like, you know, I've seen you for a long time. You've aged, like,
yeah.
So even that, it's like, you know.
I mean, that's understandable though, isn't it? Because like if like on this particular moment in the documentary, they're doing an induction for loads of new people, and as far as I can tell, she had like, you know, just under I don't know, 60 or whatever volunteers.
But at the same time, if I was a volunteer, someone, I'd been there, say, 3 years, and the owner still didn't know me by name, I'd be kind of a little disappointed in that. Yeah, as a volunteer, I'm basically doing all this work for you for free, in order to keep your thing afloat, and you can't even do the slightest of remembering my name. after 3 years or even 4 years. She said it takes about 5 years before she'll, that could be just her given a random number of years, of course.
Yeah.
But
I think it's people doing it for the animals, though, aren't they? They're doing it because they want to hang out with tigers and stuff all day. They want to be around these exotic creatures.
Of course,
and stuff, but feel like they're helping.
No, yeah, of course. But I'm sure that a lot of these helpers probably look up to Carol. So just my personal preference, aspect of it. I'd be a little bit disappointed if I'd been volunteering for someone for 3-4 years and they couldn't even remember my name. But hey, name badges. Name badges.
Name badges. Hey, Mr. Yellow T-shirt, come over here. So she has a massive following on social media, over 2 million. People following her Facebook. She does live shows, which are kind of the shows that you would want to watch. You'd be like, oh yeah, I want to find out more about the zoo, about the animals, and about the care of them. Instead of Joe's rampage against I looked pretty hard, but I didn't see any kind of mannequins looking like Joe Exotic in the background.
Two very different sides of the coin.
Yeah. But it showed you. She was saying about how she had loads of checks coming in and stuff. It's because the thing that Big Cat Rescue, the sanctuary place, it's an option. When you fundraise on your birthday on Facebook and stuff. So I'm trying to raise money for British Heart Foundation, and then you put up a donation link to raise money on your birthday.
Yeah.
That's what that's where the money was coming from on her Facebook. It was basically donation things, so it might be, I'm trying to raise £100 for Big Cat Sanctuary today, or it might just be little fundraisers. But one of them was 10 grand. Which was crazy. And she said that she was getting stuff each week, which was thousands upon thousands of pounds.
Yeah.
Going on. And so we found out that Carol runs her sanctuary is a non-profit. Because we was unclear about this in the last episode. We didn't know if she was making all this kind of.
Well, you just think, don't you? How could you run such a place? When you come to understand, just the feeding of these animals, it's no easy feat in terms of cash. So you just initially straight away think, well, how is that? How does that work? Surely that would just fall to pieces once money runs out. Yeah, because tigers need to eat.
Yeah, and it's what is it tens of thousands a year just to feed one, essentially, isn't it? Just
I mean that was my thought as well that there must be some kind of charity aspect to it, and considering she has this many followers and fans, people are obviously pretty open with their wallets.
Yeah, and when it comes to animals and pets and stuff, those are always gonna be popular charities, aren't they? Because people universally love animals. It's kind of, it would be hard to find someone who doesn't like a particular animal.
Yeah,
just general, any animal really. Mm-hmm. So Doc is complaining crazy about how Carol rode the first wave of social media and how much she's making off her social media in general, and she must make a killing. She makes a killing on YouTube for sure. And we see that beautiful Wild and Free music video that woman singing, which is cringe as hell.
Yep.
It's just kind of. I need to check out these videos just in general. I haven't done that yet. It's just because I don't want to find out anything. I don't want to find out any spoilers just yet.
Yeah.
That's I'm trying to stay away. But Doc's complaining that Carol's place, he was how does she get all this money when it's only 12 cats? And it's people think that they're going to the world's biggest animal sanctuary. And even Joe references and says she only has 12 tigers or lions in this whole park.
Yeah.
And the website and the place it claims that there's like over 100 of these cats. Like, and he ends up hiring a helicopter to go over it.
A bit of recon.
And was it John? So John's Joe's husband was saying that he had some dark thoughts about it whilst flying over. He had thoughts about getting grenades and throwing them down.
No, I think he said that Joe was actually saying this, didn't he?
No, he had thoughts about it. He didn't.
John had thoughts about it, or Joe had?
Joe had thoughts. So
right,
Joe was in the helicopter, and he had like thoughts about getting grenades and throwing them down.
He obviously expressed these thoughts. That's what I'm saying. Like, they weren't in Joe's head. He must have expressed them.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know. It's crazy. Like, you think for someone to hate someone so much that they want to essentially blow up the whole park and the animals, and
of course. But again, you need to take that with a pinch of salt as well.
Yeah.
Because like, that doesn't necessarily mean that Joe would do that. I think you have to take that with a pinch of salt.
Yeah, I suppose it's the fact that John said that as well. So it's kind of like, it's not something that Joe would probably say to the camera, like, "Oh, I had thoughts about doing this."
No, exactly. It's kind of maybe a personal little joke, maybe.
Yeah.
Not the best of jokes, a pretty lowbrow kind of joke. But, it's between lovers.
It's probably in a time of like anger and frustration.
Yeah,
overall.
Exactly. I think you do have to take that with a pinch of salt before you kind of like brand the man, a murderer of people and animals with with grenades.
Yeah.
And we know obviously previously that Joe perhaps doesn't necessarily think about what he's putting out there. Like I said before, like, what you see is what you get with Joe. And, maybe he doesn't necessarily think of the consequences of saying these things, whether he means it or not deep down.
Yeah, I feel like he just hasn't got much of a filter anymore.
Yeah.
In that sense, like, he's kind of just spouting his own feelings. I think he's probably just blindsided by hate for Carole Baskin.
It's pure anger. He's seeing red, isn't he? He's it feels like the man's at his wit's end.
And then we go back to Joe's zoo again, and we find out from Eric Cowie, or Cowie, I think it is, how he feeds, how they've been feeding the animals, the tigers and all that, at the zoo. And it's crazy. Like, it's just, so basically Joe and team sends this like big truck around to the Walmarts in the area, and they just get all the old expired meat, bung it on the truck, and come back, and then they just kind of put it into a massive thing and like feed all the animals that way.
Yeah, like they basically say that this Walmart van is full of meat that has been, or Joe explains that this meat is stuff that has been taken off the shelves, brought up to the cash register in Walmart, and then I guess the customer decided, oh no, I don't want that now, and at this point the meat can't be returned back to the refrigerator, I guess, because it's perhaps been left out so long that I guess re-refrigerating it after it's maybe warmed up is probably not ideal for human consumption. At least for a big business like Walmart, maybe it's a protective thing for customers. So they do, don't they? They get this kind of big van. But is that donated to the park?
Yeah, as far as I can tell. I mean, that's what I got from the gist of it, because I can't imagine them going to like a massive bin behind. And...
I wouldn't put it past them, man. That's the trouble. I would not put it past them.
There's too much of it. There's too much of it. It makes sense for a big company to donate all their like foods
Yeah,
for non-human consumption to
it's
zoos.
yeah, and it's better that it goes to use than rather just waste and just goes to nothing. Which I suppose is a good thing.
But he was like, yeah. So Eric, one of the head keeper of the place, the guy who looks kind of like a surfer, he's wearing like
I really like this guy. I really like this guy.
I really
like he comes off
he's so
really
cool.
really likable, like kind of laid back. It comes across that he really loves what he does. Again, I don't know too much about his past, but it feels like he's been saved, or he feels like he's been saved. And doesn't he mention about being an alcoholic at one point, and the fact that this saved him from that? Like he doesn't need to drink because he has to focus on the tigers. I'm sure it mentions that.
I thought it was another one of his team. I thought it was that because he.
I think it was him.
Was it him?
Yeah,
okay.
I'm pretty sure. But let me, just quickly back to an earlier part of the documentary where everyone's kind of second guessing about Bhagavan's wives. And some of them saying, "Oh, he's got 4 wives, he's got 9 wives, he's got 3 girlfriends," and then they ask him, and he says, "I don't give a fuck." And I'm just like, yes, like I like this guy.
It was a good answer because he's just I just don't give a shit, honestly. Yeah, and he basically said how he got this job was he applied for it on like Craigslist, or Craigslist as they call it over there. And he just like kind of walks in. He's like, "Yeah, now I'm gonna like look after tigers." Like, it's insane. It's just insane that you just like, there's no training required. It's like kind of bam, just like I'm just gonna look after tigers.
Yeah,
it's fine. And yeah, we see that the staff obviously go through all the meat, and they're like, "Yep, I'm gonna have first dibs on this, and then whatever's left over, just give it to the animals and stuff."
Yeah. So like obviously like because they're not earning big money at all. Like what you would imagine you would earn in a type of job like that is completely. Well, yeah, it's a massive eye opener that they're only earning $150. So that probably doesn't go all that far in terms of eating, and get just being able to live. So yeah, they're having to like kind of scrimp from this van. Like, oh yeah, here's a steak, I'll have that. Yeah, it's out of date, doesn't matter. Like, so yeah, kind of speaks more to their situation in life.
Yeah, but then you think about obviously because. I don't know about you, but like use by dates don't really mean that much. I mean, it's like something is saying that the supplier has to put something on there, just say they can't guarantee the freshness after this date.
Yeah. So a best before date literally means that it will taste better before this date, but it's not going to harm you. Whereas obviously there are some foods that if you ate them past a certain time,
you'll be careful.
Yeah, definitely. And I don't know as that truck is refrigerated either.
No,
how long's that meat been in that truck for?
That's it. It must be boiling.
Yeah.
And the guy, was it like Eric picks up one and goes, "Oh, look, this is still frozen."
It's like what a find.
Yeah, what a find. So the staff there live in like mobile homes, and they look like just abandoned, don't they? Just
not the greatest living arrangements, really.
Yeah, nothing works. The sink doesn't work. The washing machine doesn't work because I guess there's no water full stop.
But again, they seem happy. Like I kind of like that. I do like that. That like the contrast of like Bhagavan's wives, like who it appears at least to the naked eye, in comparison, that they're living in luxury. There's a massive difference in, at least from what you can see, in the happiness levels of the two different staffs, which kind of that speaks volumes.
Because I guess there's no kind of stipulations or whatever when it comes to like Joe. I mean, like, oh, okay, I'll pay you this. You can probably live in one of those trailers and stuff, but there's not like kind of some creepy guy like telling them to get like a boob job or something on top.
Yeah, of course. But also, like, there's that old saying of, mo money, mo problems. And I've seen in other documentaries of things before of like kind of people in countries where they're not as fortunate as some of us maybe, but they appear happier. Like it's life for them. It's what they know. So they know no better. So they perhaps can't compare it to anything else. But like, I kind of love that. Like, that's kind of a big thing to me of like, sometimes less is more. Obviously not to the point of starvation. I'm not talking about, people who are literally starving and stuff like that. But sometimes less is more. To have all this stuff can sometimes be more problematic.
Yeah, I mean, Joe's stuff do seem kind of happy and content enough from what we've seen in the documentary anyway.
Yeah.
But then we see Vagavans, like Barbara talks about raising tiger cubs there and stuff. And there's a mystery on where the tigers go.
Yeah.
Like what happens to the older tigers. And she was talking about a particular tiger that she was like attached to and like absolutely loved. And she doesn't know what happened to it. And Doc Antle was like, I know where they go, but it's best not to know.
Yeah, again, that speaks massively to the control aspect. Like, you don't need to know. As long as I know, then everything is okay. But again, it kind of leads to the thinking of there possibly is a few skeletons in the closet there.
Yeah, there's like a lot of characters who did say at this point, it kind of cuts between them saying like, oh, he euthanizes them when they're too old because they're basically seen as kind of just a waste at that point because they can't be petted, they can't be, they can be shown.
I think they say like it might have even been in the first episode, possibly. I forget. But they say that once a tiger reaches a certain age, they become just a bill. Like it's just a hemorrhage of money. They're not bringing money in; they're just costing money.
Which I thought is weird because he obviously dishes out these tigers to films and stuff. So you probably need like a constant supply. I guess the ones that don't, perform well, maybe he's euthanizing.
Well, I suppose as well. Once a tiger or once any animal has been through that kind of process for so long, like with any kind of human being, like you get worn down by it. Like the novelty wears off, and perhaps it's that maybe they because they're in this kind of unnatural situation, they kind of give up on themselves.
Yeah, I mean, I guess he does sell off some of these animals to Mario and that because Mario does say that that's who supplied him his tigers in the first place, and like, a lot of his animals come from Doc Antle. Which I'm wondering if it's Joe supplying to Doc and then Doc supplying to Mario.
Yeah,
that's what it kind of feels like overall. So maybe Doc is making some kind of profit on this overall.
More than likely.
But yeah, it's still horrible though. I feel like it's a bit of a mystery on like what he's actually doing.
Yeah.
Overall.
Yeah, it's not nice to think about, is it really?
No. But then it brings us to the final part of the episode, which is the big cliffhanger.
And what a cliffhanger.
So one of Mario's keepers basically drops into conversation that Carol's millionaire ex-husband has gone missing and has been just vanished, and that's where she got all of her money from. And he, I guess, owned the zoo originally, and then
you see in the moment that this person says this, you see that it hits this kind of light bulb switch in the documentary makers' like, because he's like, what? Hang on, I didn't know this. Like, this is an avenue to go down. So yeah, kind of really leaves you wanting more. Like, oh my god, I need to see where this goes.
Yeah, and then I guess the general gist of it is at the end is like a lot of characters are basically saying everybody believes that she fed him to the tigers, and the cliffhanger is, did she?
Yeah.
But we're gonna find out next episode.
I cannot wait. Like that. What a way to finish that episode. Like, incredible.
Anyway, that is it for episode 2. We're going to get the next one for episode 3 out as soon as possible. So subscribe if you haven't already. Send us a message. Let us know what you think of the documentary so far. It'd be good to hear from you.
There's definitely a lot to talk about in this documentary. Like, and it really would be great to hear other opinions on the subject itself, because it's fascinating.
Yeah, if we've missed something out that you feel like we needed to talk about in one particular episode, just let us know and we'll go over it in the next 5 more episodes we've got to do on this.
Yeah, another 5 to go.
5 to go.
And it makes you wonder as well, like, already in 2 episodes, so much has happened.
Yeah.
Like, and we've got 5 more. Like, I cannot wait.
Anyway, that is it. So thanks for listening. Contact us on the socials if you can. And until next time, thanks for listening.
Thank you.
Do, 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 do.